We've got just two words to describe this week's news events: stormy weather. Welcome to MOMocrats Mama Chat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills, along with Karoli and Aliza Worthington from crooksandliars.com. And Karoli, you're channeling the president right now.
I am. I'm also protecting myself from my dilated eyes. So if they ever stop, then I'll put my regular glasses on.
In the meantime, you look really cool.
Oh, thank you.
You do. You always look cool, but that's extra
true.
cool.
Oh, thank you.
That's true. So, yeah, I don't want to start with the Trump trial.
No.
So let's talk about a little piece of very good news that came down today, and that is our old friend Steve Bannon lost his appeal, his final appeal to stay out of jail on his contempt of Congress conviction. Apparently, he can still go and get the full appellate court to make a decision on Bonk, but I don't think they're going to do that. And he'll probably try to get the Supreme Court to do something, but they've already got their finger in the pie,
Well, the Supreme Court already turned back Peter Navarro. They're not going to.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to, listen to Bannon whine about it if they weren't going to do Navarro. And the best part of this is that he'll be in prison during the election.
Yeah, he can't do his podcast while he's in prison.
Yeah. Oh, poor baby.
Oh, we can't hear that voice.
I know. Are we all sad about that? No.
We're terribly sad.
Although, it was nice fodder for Crooks and Liars, but we can find other things. There will be other wingnuts, I'm sure.
There will be. I was just going to say, we're not lacking in fodder over.
No, there is an unlimited number of wingnuts out there. They just keep on coming.
Seriously, they definitely do. So,
and the same wing nuts keep popping up like bad pennies. So, I mean,
from years ago, wing nuts. I just have to throw in here because I know many people have heard me rant about FreedomWorks over the years. Okay, but as long as we're talking about wing nuts, R.I.P. FreedomWorks.
Right.
Bye-bye. Right. All gone.
They were a little too successful.
Yeah, well, and the Trumpers didn't, care for them. So they're not gone. But the thing is, they're not going to be gone forever. If you read all the way through that article in Politico about him, Adam Brandon is really just rebranding.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, aren't they going to come back in some regenerated form?
Yeah, he's going to try to aim at the Gen Z millennials, libertarian bents.
Yeah, as long as there's Coke money, they're going to keep trying to sow influence.
Right.
And there will be rubes that fall for it.
Yep. So they're not going away. But I just had to say, you talk about wingnuts, man. They were... FreedomWorks was my first intro, basically, to how bad the right wing is.
Yeah.
Because they were the ones that were fighting they were organizing the Tea Party and fighting the Affordable Care Act, which was then just known as healthcare reform. We hadn't even gotten to the point where we were calling it anything else.
Right.
And that's where, Ginny Thomas organized, and, she was out there on the trail, and they had all these Tea Party patriots are still a thing, you guys. I swear, I just saw a mail piece from them the other day, sent to somebody close to me. So, yeah, it was Tea Party patriots and FreedomWorks, and all these people were organizing those astroturf protests against healthcare reform. It's a wonder it got past the Affordable Care Act, because there was so much money being poured into it not being passed.
Yeah, it really is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, every victory that we have is hard fought.
Yeah. So, anyway, I hope Steve Bannon goes to prison and sits there and rots during the trial. Or
one wag on social media was, wait till he finds out he only gets to wear one shirt.
At a time, you mean?
At a time, right? Yeah. Yeah, no 3 shirts, Bannon, just 1. That's all you get. Oh, well. So and this is a small, like, compensation for the fact that he committed huge fraud
Mm-hmm.
against, those poor people that gave to the "We Build the Wall" thing that was nothing more than a ripoff,
Yeah.
of donors, that nothing was ever done with that, and that other than spend he spent the money on himself, he and his partner. um, you know, and everything. And had Trump not pardoned him, he would already be in jail. He would,
I don't
for a
have
long time.
a lot
Huh?
of sympathy for those people who gave money.
I don't either, because
Or
they were stupid, but
they're
still,
racist.
yeah.
Well,
But
I mean, yeah, they were stupid, but they also didn't want immigrants coming over. So,
right,
I mean,
Well,
yeah, I
he
mean,
could have more legal problems. I mean, his Chinese benefactor is, you know, they're going after him.
I know,
So,
good,
you never know what's going to happen. But these
yeah,
people, like you said, these people keep coming back like a bad penny.
yeah,
We've got
they're,
Paul Manafort back.
yep.
Um,
yeah,
Manafort is back and planning to be involved in this campaign. I'm like,
yeah,
how does that happen? Only Republicans could let that happen. I'm telling you, Democrats would not do that. And now
no,
Republicans might hire a corrupt Democrat to do their bidding, but the Democratic candidates would not hire somebody who had been convicted
not
of fraud.
knowingly.
Not somebody who'd been convicted of fraud. I mean,
Right,
they just
right.
wouldn't. That's
And
crazy,
if they did, the media would jump all over them.
right? Yeah.
And the Democratic base would be upset by it.
no. This is a feather in the cap. This is let's bring this guy back.
He's really good at planning coups.
He's good at planning coups. He's good at criming. Even
Mhm.
though he got caught,
Yeah.
he's willing to do low, nasty shit. Perfect.
Yeah.
Come sit with us.
Exactly. So it's
And
going to
Who's
be
got the
interesting.
birdies? I hear birdies singing.
Oh, so my window's open and there's
That's
like a
nice.
little birdie nest right up in the eaves, right above
It's so
here.
nice. I'm
Yeah.
like, because I'm looking out my window and it's so gray and dreary where I am. But oh
yeah,
It's
well,
actually pretty gray and foggy here too, but the birdies are still happy. So
nice. Okay.
yeah,
Anyway,
they're
sorry.
happy birds.
it's bright and sunny where I am, but that's
Yeah.
because I'm not lucky enough to live near the coast like Karoli is.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, that's the weather report for us here at
The weather report and the bird report. Yes, we have
yeah.
for
we
the
have tweeting
MOMocrats.
birds out there. They will tweet during the
Let's go to Donna for sports.
yeah.
Well, we talked a little bit about Joe Biden. Let's talk about him some more. You
Yes.
know, I thought it was great how he showed up in Wisconsin a couple of days ago in Racine at the site of that big Foxconn plant that never was. You
Mm.
guys remember the early days of the Trump administration where
Oh yeah.
it was like great fanfare. They broke ground on this big super
Plan.
Oh,
plant
and
for
it
Yeah.
was like Trump and Scott Walker and Mike Pence and
yeah,
everybody lined up with their big old shovels. And yeah, I
and
know.
it was gonna bring thousands of jobs to the area, and, I
Yep.
mean, tragically, people ended up having to get rid of their homes, get rid of their farms, so they
Hmm.
could amass this land to build this plant that
Yeah.
never was.
Right. Foxconn pulled out and it was never, it's almost like they never planned to do it at all. You know,
Almost.
almost.
Well, they
So,
did put in, like, a smaller plant that I guess was making TV things or something.
but it was
Hmm.
like a
Only a thou
tiny fraction of what
Yeah,
they had promised, a
right,
Yeah.
tiny
right,
bitty fraction of what they had
right.
promised.
Yeah.
So this now Biden went to this site and announced that there's going to be a very large Microsoft AI plant there on that land. And it's going to have
It's
lots of
infrastructure
jobs.
week.
Yeah, it's infrastructure week, right? It's going to have lots of jobs for people in Wisconsin. And, it is what should have happened with the Foxconn deal and didn't.
Yeah.
So, and
At least there's not going to be any kind of a thing where they try to get the Chinese owners to get rid of the plant for some reason or another, because Microsoft is, it may be a multinational, but it's a multinational based here.
right.
Yeah.
So
Well, that and I thought that the president of Microsoft gave a great speech when he was there, basically saying the reason we can do this is because we have the Chips Act and we had the Infrastructure Act and we,
tying it all together.
all those things are enabling us now to do this. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we need more of, is to hear that. The things that Biden did in the first 2 years of his administration, when Democrats had all that, the House, the Senate, and the presidency,
Yeah.
are doing good things for places that need good things done, like Wisconsin. So
After Trump screws them.
right,
Right.
and
What a difference.
really, Trump's only got grievance. I mean, that's his whole shtick, right? Is grievance. He doesn't really have any promises. I mean, even look at Project 2025, right? And it's just a dim, ugly view of things, and it's all founded. The foundation of it is grievance.
Now, Project 2025 has been around since before Trump, right?
In different forms, yes, but this is the most draconian that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was under the impression that, you go ahead.
They built upon things that Trump tried to do in his last months in office.
Right.
Is it like sort of a new iteration of it that incorporates Trump's strengths, such as they are?
Yeah. And it is more racist and more sexist and more everything-ist than anything the Republicans put forward before. It is as though they've decided to say, we are going to be as obnoxious as you always knew we were, but now we're just going to confirm it for you. That this is, really, we are fascists, and here's our document confirming that.
Right.
And is it calling for a new constitutional convention and all that?
I don't think it's calling for a constitutional convention. I just think that, it wants basically to send women back into the dark ages and, to get rid of the 14th Amendment and, everything else that might be, that might not benefit white people.
They will basically just suspend the Constitution.
Right.
That Schedule F that Trump signed as an executive order before he left office that would allow them to get rid of the entire civil service, no matter, all their job protections are gone, and he gets to staff them just with loyalists. Loyalty tests everywhere. So the civil service that we have enjoyed for well over a century, that is non-political, where all the knowledge of where everything is, and they serve the president no matter what party the president is. That's gone. That's gone. It's all loyalists. Yeah.
And basically we become a theocracy. I mean, we have a whole series of posts on Crooks and Liars right now about Project 2025. Just if you search that, you'll see Red State Rachel has been writing about it a lot. So anybody can go there and just search for Project 2025 and you'll see a whole list of,
and it's terrifying
things. Yeah.
Karoli and Aliza, when I saw the news that Barron Trump was going to be a delegate, he turns 18 and now he wants to go into politics, and all I thought to myself,
I hadn't heard that,
grooming him to be the next king.
No shit.
But apparently the Daily Mail today is reporting that he's not going to be a delegate after all. He doesn't want to do it. So I don't know. Maybe
that's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
not confirmed. It's a Daily Mail, so who knows? You know,
right. I mean, he's kind of enigmatic to me because Melania has really sheltered him, and we were surprised over at Crooks and Liars when we saw the news that he was going to be a delegate, because we all thought Melania would not want that for him at all. She would want
Right.
him to be completely shielded from that aspect of things. And so it doesn't surprise me that now he's saying he doesn't want to do it. I mean, there's always been speculation about whether, for example, he's on the spectrum or whatever. I don't know if he is or he isn't. He's a kid. He's 18 years old, and he's got the misfortune to be connected to this man who can't even remember how old he is, and who, exploited his high school graduation so he could go do a rally in Minnesota instead of,
it's
so
I don't have any. I mean, obviously, certainly no love lost between me and Barron, but I don't expect, just because I've never heard the kid utter a sound,
right,
doesn't mean
yeah.
any, almost speaks well for how much he's been protected and shielded from the, this life. And that's kind of the way I think it should be.
I totally agree.
And it really would surprise me if he ended up all of a sudden involved in this, especially because of Melania. Like, I just don't see that happening.
I agree. I don't see it.
Hey, I've been wrong before, obviously, but that's I would be super shocked if he, especially at the age of 18, became adult. Like, that just doesn't seem.
Well, I mean, I honestly wouldn't want to, given that he hasn't been involved in politics, and the only exposure he's had to a convention would have been in 2020 when, and maybe 2016, I don't know, when he, the family comes out for whatever, right at the end, when all the balloons and crap drops and everything.
Right, so he was 14 and he was 10.
Yeah, I mean, it would, but that would be like the extent of it. And it would, I mean, being on the convention floor is entirely different than standing on that stage. It is something to behold to be on that convention floor. And
it's going to be very strange on that side this year, now that the RNC is a division of the Trump organization.
Right.
So you've got Don Jr. as the head of the Florida delegation.
Mm-hmm.
And all the siblings and their husbands and their spouses are also delegates.
Right. Yeah.
And so
I admit to not understanding that connection now. So the Trump organization is
Laura
the
Trump
RNC.
Laura Trump is the head of the RNC now.
Right.
And Trump organization is basically an arm. The RNC is basically an arm of the Trump organization. And in Florida,
because Laura Trump is the head.
Yeah.
Basically, is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
And in Florida, it's Florida, Biden and Harris are down there contending as hard as they can. And maybe there's a chance down. I mean, they must think there is one, or they wouldn't spend the money and the time down there. But like Donna says, as far as the Republicans go, the Trumps own the entire RNC, but definitely the Florida Republican Party.
And remember that this is a family of grifters.
Right.
And the real estate business, commercial real estate, that's not the big money maker now that it used to be. I think they've decided that the political grift is way, way easier for them.
Yep.
More profitable and less work. Do all the Trumps live in Florida, or does all the Trump kids, or does Tiffany?
They're all in Florida now.
She's in Florida now too?
Florida too? I wasn't sure if she was, but all the rest.
I thought she was in California, but maybe she's moved.
No, she's not. She
got married to
law school and married a rich boy.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Let's see.
Okay.
She went to Georgetown Law. That's where she got her law degree. Doesn't say in here. But yeah,
I think they've got a home in Florida. She might not be there full time, but I think they all have homes homes in Florida now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's a rich boy, and they were married at Mar-a-Lago.
Of course.
Yeah, it doesn't say where she lives, but she's connected one way or the other.
Sure.
She's connected to Florida. She's probably the most outsider of all of them, but she's not really an outsider. I mean, if you've heard her
Right.
state,
Not anymore.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's and it would be something. I have to say, if Florida, if they won Florida, right?
Can
If
you
Biden
imagine?
and Harris won Florida, that would be something to behold.
That
I
would
mean,
be a
Well, they are just
dream.
hammering. They are just hammering this period of time where the abortion ban is complete,
right.
starting in
They're
6 weeks
hammering that,
from May 1st till
and
whenever,
Republicans are
till
go ahead, sorry.
November. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're hammering that, and Republicans are hammering voter fraud, which in Florida, there is some voter fraud, but it's on the
It's
Republican
on the
side.
part of Republicans.
It's not on the Democrat side. So,
Again, it's all projection.
yeah,
Everything.
We were talking about Project 2025 and
Yeah.
what's in store for women. And today we learned that Senator Katie Britt, remember her?
Uh,
who can forget Katie Britt?
Well, Katie Britt has introduced a bill called the Moms Act. And you would go
gross.
to a government site,
Gross.
moms.gov or something like that, and they would ask you all the personal questions, and you would be, and supposedly you're going to get resources, but the resources are like pregnancy crisis centers.
Yeah, it's like the fake clinics.
They're fake
Right.
clinics. Anybody that provides any kind of abortion care would be excluded. And you get to be part of a database, a federal government database of your pregnancy. And they want to keep the government out of your lives, unless you're a woman.
I was going to say, they don't want to keep the government out of your life. They just want to not pay taxes. That's when they say that, when they say they want small government, what they really want is no taxes. That's
Right.
what their grift
What
is.
that means is they want to be able to do whatever they want and not pay for it. They want no
Right.
taxes and no consequences.
And
And
so this,
That's what they want. No
and
regulation.
this brings us to the news that broke the other day that few people paid attention to because everybody was watching Stormy Daniels in court.
I know.
And last month, Donald Trump held a fundraiser with oil company execs and laid out a quid pro quo. He said, "You guys give me $1 billion for my campaign, and I will see to it that you get everything you want. We will roll back all of the environmental
protections,
everything.
TV,
Day one. And the oil company lobbyists are drafting the legislation now.
Yeah.
Right now.
That's a thing that's actually happening. I liked the headline. I think it was the Daily Beast that basically said Donald Trump sells the earth for $1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's really what he did. He's like, yeah, we'll just get rid of EVs. We'll get rid of all the things that Biden did to protect the climate. And of course, never mind that insurance companies won't insure your homes or anything like that. Don't worry about that.
Well, they don't care about
as long as the oil companies make their profits, that's all they care about, right?
Right.
That
well, that's so Russian, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the deal, that the quid pro quo, and honestly, he should be. I guess there's nothing illegal about saying it, but
is he permitted? This is my lack of knowledge coming to the fore. Is he permitted to use any of that to pay what he owes in New York, for example? Or
well, he's been using a lot of it to pay for his attorney's fees.
Right. I don't think he's permitted per se, But I promise you there'll be a way for him to funnel that money out, just like he has been for years, right?
Yeah.
To
I
his
mean, they
property.
have no infrastructure. The state Republican parties are very upset that they are not getting the funding that they were expecting.
Yeah,
Because Laura Trump's in charge.
right.
That, I mean, also, that they had a real big announcement when they put her in charge, and
Yeah.
hired they hired a veteran election attorney to take care of their elections. His last name was
Mhm.
Spies, and
Yeah,
he's already gone because
yeah.
he refused to say that the 2020 election was stolen. So he's gone.
Uh,
And so the
Right.
person in charge of election integrity is Christina Bobb, who
what?
Yeah.
who was indicted in Arizona.
In case there
That,
was any doubt in your mind that the Republican Party is a criminal enterprise, here's some
oh
evidence.
my God. See, I'm clearly not following the little machinations of what's going on at the RNC.
Well, and
So
who can blame you, when Stormy's all over everything? I mean, I don't blame you.
when did that happen? When did Christina Bobb land that plum gig?
Weeks ago.
In the
So
meantime, some
she's
of
in
the
charge
other
of
ones,
election integrity for the RNC now? Oh my
Yes.
God. That's quite a sentence.
and some of the other ones that
Funny,
were
it was
indicted
not
in Arizona are also were elected either as committeemen to the state parties or
Okay.
delegates to the convention. I mean, yeah,
It's a
it's
crime ring. It's a fucking crime ring.
we
amen.
laugh, but it's terrifying.
It is
Because
terrifying, but it's
I'm
also
sorry.
how can you
last
only
week, Carolee and I were talking that the way that they are acting, you
Yeah.
know, uh, the, the confidence that they are projecting about
Yeah.
this election when they are not laying down the ground to
Yeah.
get
right.
out the vote tells me that they are planning to win by trickery
By
again,
cheating. Yeah.
by
Yeah.
cheating.
Yeah.
And they're confident.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a thing today that said that the same thing that you saw, where state parties were freaking out because they weren't getting what they needed, and then also that there was no plan in place for
Right.
him to campaign for the next through the election and everything.
No
So
plan for Trump's campaign, you mean?
right, right. So what is it exactly that they're planning to do that's going to win this election? And I mean, now we see that the polls after, again, being turning towards Trump, that the last poll, likely voters, in two polls, Biden was ahead by 4 points. And that was outside the margin of error. And so I agree with Donna. They're going to cheat. They figured something out and they're going to cheat. And I don't know what it is, but I hope we figure it out before it's too late.
We do know that they are planning to have an army of true the vote types,
Yeah.
Right.
that they've got
Militia.
AI tools. Brad Parscale is back with the campaign in charge of their AI functions.
It's
Um,
all the same fucking crooks. It's all the same
All of it.
people.
Yep.
mhm.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
like,
Yep.
well, it didn't work last time, really, but we're going to come at it again from it. All the same people.
Right. I know, it's wild.
All
And they're
Russian
going to
money.
do everything they can to make it difficult for you and me to cast our ballot in
Mm-hmm.
peace. They're going to challenge legitimate voters.
Mm-hmm. That's the plan. And I
Yeah.
think they figured out that they just have to shave a certain percentage off the
Mhm.
electorate
Because
to
it's going to be
be in
close.
good shape. And that's why it's going to be incumbent on us to get out the vote and to get this message out that, no matter what your individual gripes are with Joe Biden, that you have to look at the bigger picture and
Yeah.
look at the differences between the two. I had somebody yesterday, go on and on about how she was not voting for Biden, and it could have been a troll. It was on Threads, so who knows.
Oh.
She was a 49-year-old Democrat who had voted Democratic in every election, and Joe Biden was just not acceptable because, and I really never got the reason, but it had something, you know,
Something,
Something,
something
something
something,
old.
Gaza, something.
Something,
Gaza.
something
Yeah.
old. Something, something Gaza.
Yeah. Oh, she was Jewish, so too. So or
Oh,
so she
that doesn't matter. That's
yeah. So she claimed. I don't know. And I just thought I mean I basically said, listen, a vote for, RFK Jr. is a vote for Trump. It's, isn't it nice that we all have the choice? But I personally don't want to live in a fascist country, so I will not
yeah.
be voting for anybody other than Biden, and I'm proud to do it.
And don't forget that Jared Kushner has plans to build beach resorts
Right.
on Gaza after they get rid of all the residents.
Right.
I mean, how can you think that Trump would be better for Palestinians?
They don't think that. They don't think Trump would be better. They don't give a shit about Palestinians. If they
Right.
gave a shit, these people, if they gave a shit about Palestinians, they would be protesting Hamas instead of Biden.
Instead
Okay,
of
I
shouting
just
Hamas slogans and long
instead of
live
using the upside down red triangle on
Hmm.
their banners, instead of, I mean, it is just, I mean, don't get me started on this, but that's not, you know. But anyway, yes, let's stick with for the moment. I really want to stick with the point about our election,
Right.
because it is terrifying, the notion that they are so confident, maybe they have figured it out from whatever didn't work last time.
Mm-hmm.
That, but all I can hope upon hope is that when we have people like Mark Elias on our side, and when we have the crackerjack teams that Biden has put in place, and I have to hope that they are going to get around it, that they are going to either predict or that they have plans of their own to get out the damn vote, um, and in enough margins that it's irrefutable that Biden won. And I mentioned maybe 3 weeks ago that all we have to do is get 10% of white women
Hmm.
to go from voting Republican, voting for Trump, to voting for Biden. 10%
Hmm.
will be enough to absolutely smash Trump's
And the thing that I
candidacy.
keep going back to is that we've had elections that, since 2020, and
Yes.
we've worried about those elections, and we've been concerned about, are they going to cheat, and we win. So,
Yeah.
and we win by a lot. It's not like a little, it's a lot. And so I feel like, that if we can keep that momentum going, and I do
But the
think
thing,
that a lot of what's the active measures that are going on now are intended to disrupt that. They're intended to
Yeah.
disrupt, like to say, okay, be angry about abortion, but what about this? Right? Whatever this is, whatever, it is that you're mad at Biden about. Yeah, abortion's a thing, but you're mad about this. And they're trying to do that with their active measures online and off, I think. And it's a concern. It's definitely a concern.
but they're
But I
not
think,
those small. They're not small. They're big victories in the
yeah,
states that we've been having since 2020. But
right.
the we're not seeing the Republicans go around about those victories that I can tell, saying that they're fraud, or that they're,
Right.
those elections were stolen.
Right. They're not saying that.
They're not saying that even when they lost. And so what I'm wondering is why, or how, like, they're not making that noise about those elections, but they're going to make that noise about Trump when and if he loses. So, like,
But
I'm
that's
not sure what
also primarily because he is going to make that noise. And
Yeah.
I mean, until the fever is broken, you have to assume that every Republican at this point in time is is beholden to Trump or is captured in the cult, one or the other, right?
But why aren't they making that noise about these other states and these other elections
because
and
it was
getting these?
irrefutable. There was nothing they could do. They put all their measures in place and they still lost.
But did they put those measures in place for those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
they
so
definitely did.
So there's nothing. So what is it they can do that we haven't seen yet? Like that? Is that what? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, can they hack? I don't know. Do they think
I did not have the imagination to imagine.
I don't either.
January 6th.
Yeah.
I did not have the imagination to imagine that Russia would help Trump in 2016. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Russia's helping him now.
Yes, they are.
Russia's helping him in Israel. Russia's helping him here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this is, Russia is all of this is to help Trump win.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, it's absolutely is to help Trump win. But and it's going to be our job to just keep coming out, and getting out the vote. Like you said, 10% of white women, that are undecided, you push them into the Biden camp and we win.
And make it your business, because don't act like it. You can't talk about it. Politics cannot be verboten. Politics can't be, politics should be spoken about in polite society. It's not,
Well, I mean,
there's a good thing. There was a primary this week in Indiana.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 months since Nikki Haley dropped out.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And she got 14% of the vote.
I don't know. Why did I think it was like 22%?
I thought it was like 22%.
Okay, I thought it was
22%. Now, the question is, how many of those 22% casting a protest vote in a primary will be able to hold their nose and cast a vote for Joe Biden in November?
Well, and that's the real question, isn't it?
That
because
is the question.
A lot of those women, well, not just women, a lot of those Republicans will fall in line, but I think there are some who won't. And there was an interesting editorial this week from a Republican who basically said, yes, I'm voting for Joe Biden because why would I vote for a guy that's, a criminal, an immoral criminal, he basically said. So,
he said he would rather vote for a good man who he disagrees with on policy than a criminal with no moral compass.
Right. A good man and an honest man.
Yes.
Right. And I thought that was a really compelling, argument to Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley. They're not going to be the base. They're not going to be the Trump base isn't going to care. They're going to hate him. But the Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley don't want Trump. I mean, it's as simple as that. They don't want him. I don't know why, if they don't want the chaos, if they think he's a crook, I don't know what the reasons are, but there are, I'm sure, a variety of reasons. And some of them will hear that editorial. And I don't think that'll be the only Republican who speaks out that way.
Well, I hope they start doing it more and soon, because
I'm seeing too many of them saying, once again, they'll just write in somebody else.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. I mean,
or
I think
fall into line like Bill Barr.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
John Bolton.
Yeah. Give me a break. But I mean, the good news also is that RFK Jr. is taking away more votes from Trump than he is from
Trump's going nuts.
This is what I predicted. This is what I said. When I was talking, my dad was so worried about RFK Jr. messing up, the election, months ago. And I was saying, I really think he's going to be taken from the Trump camp. He's not going to take anybody from Biden.
Taking from both. But more on the Trump side, to the effect that Trump is now, going after him on Truth Social, whereas this whole thing was a Steve Bannon joint, to get him.
And I don't think Biden's not even paying attention to him. I think he's
not really.
He's got the rest of the Kennedys.
Yeah,
he's got the Kennedys in town.
Kennedy family. What is I will say the only thing that really does bother me about the RFK Jr. is the media, who is referring to him as Bobby Kennedy or RFK without the junior on there.
Without
And
the
that
junior.
is, I mean, for people in my generation, maybe it doesn't matter for millennials or whatever,
It
but for
matters to
people
me.
in
That's
my
gross.
generation,
I'm
it
Gen X.
super matters to me.
Yeah.
And that guy is no Bobby Kennedy, and he's definitely no RFK. He's an RFK Jr., and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, his father was a hero.
Yeah. And this guy is not a hero. And,
Yeah.
In fact, do we get to talk about the brain worm?
Should
Yeah.
we? I would like to. Why not? I mean, I feel like we all have brainworm, like, for the last.
Yeah, I know, but this was real. I mean,
This is an actual brainworm.
Right, an actual parasite that ate part of his brain, and then he testified to this in an effort to get out of paying more
Alimony.
alimony
Right.
to his soon-to-be ex-wife. I mean, it was on a deposition, but
Who ended
yeah,
up
He testified to this recently.
no, it was
but
in
years
2012.
ago. Okay.
That's what I thought, but it's only coming out now. Like, I don't understand. Like,
Well,
Yes.
it came out because somebody was actually a journust and went through and went back and looked through the depositions and went, wow, look at that. There's a brainworm. Probably asked for a comment, and so he decided, oh, I better get ahead of this and actually say something before it, turns into a scandal. But it's a scandal.
thing.
It's a
Scandal anyway.
Mercury poisoning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that
between
and
the
mercury.
mercury poisoning and the brainworm, I think that it explains so much.
Yeah.
About what he is, and this guy is completely anti-vax and bizarre, but hey, brainworms. I mean, I don't know.
Well, again, online, social media, somebody said, live your life so that when the world finds out you've got a brainworm, they don't go, oh yeah, makes perfect sense.
That's so true. I mean, think about
That's
it.
what we said.
I know.
There's so many ways I want to live my life.
I mean, maybe I'm thinking that maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene maybe had a brainworm too. I don't know. I mean, or something, because can somebody explain to me why after Democrats come out and say they're going to backstop Mike Johnson, that she demands a vote anyway?
She does it anyway.
And fails miserably and is booed by her own side. I mean,
well, it is nice to see people in the House finally fighting back against
her,
the craziest ones of them.
Yeah.
It is nice to see that. I did enjoy her complaining about how it's a uniparty now.
I was going to say that's the one thing we have to dispel. This, first of all, it's not a uniparty. It's Republicans and Democrats coming together and agreeing that they don't want chaos in the House. That's all that is. That's not uniparty. That's just two sides saying we have other things we want to do than this. That's all.
Right.
And Hakeem Jeffries would like to have the speaker title and power.
Right.
But he's not going to have that till he's got his majority. And in the meantime, we don't need another 3 or 4 weeks without a leader.
Not now.
There was a threat at one time that there was at least 3 or 4 Republicans who said they'd vote for Jeffries if she actually succeeded in a motion to vacate. And let's face it, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries at this point is definitely driving some of what's going on, because I think he's found in Mike Johnson that where they don't agree on things and and Johnson's still willing to indulge in a lot of bullshit, that he will still, he's a man of his word, that if he says he'll do something, he'll do it. So it's just a question of getting it there.
He can be trusted more than Kevin could.
Right. Kevin McCarthy was completely untrustworthy, but it looks like Mike Johnson, if you get him to the point where he says yes, he'll do what he says. And I don't understand Marjorie Taylor Greene coming up with this uniparty bullshit. I mean, the way government is supposed to work is that there's these competing uh,
Interest.
policy ideas and everything else that then come together and find some method of compromise, right? And that they, that,
Green
I mean,
never
I
learned
was
civics.
taught this in middle school. We did a whole
She
simulation,
was not, or
on.
she did not pay attention. And I also believe she's another one who's getting her marching orders from the Russians.
Oh, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be at all surprised about that either. But I mean, the
Yeah,
whole
who
thing
aren't
is
famous for compromise in government.
right. The whole thing is just so ridiculous that she would bring that up for a vote, and it failed miserably. I
And so
mean,
self-destructive.
yeah. I
For
mean,
someone who's
Republicans
only
are
out for
over
number one, she's only out for herself. Like, it just seemed like
Fox News
just a
is like
bizarre turn.
slamming her.
Good.
Fox News. I mean,
Because this particular favor where you don't work with the other side and everything has to be, uncompromising.
hmm,
This has been 30 years since Newt
Mm.
came in.
yeah.
And if what we are going through now is like the last bit of horrible before the fever finally breaks.
Yeah, the
Please
dying
God, let it be
gasps
so.
I
of the
mean,
Newt Gingrich legacy. It would be. I would not be sad to see that
this
Me,
mentality die.
this
me
has
either.
been a bad era.
Oh, it's been awful. I mean, just the whole, not just the fact that they're so intractable, but the fact that they're so mean about it. I mean, the politics itself has gotten to the point where it's just so mean and ugly. And I know, I mean, you can go all the way back in history, and there's times where, there's smears and meanness and ugliness, but this is, at least in my lifetime, I don't remember it being like this. I don't remember it being so awful that you can't even speak truth without, like, to somebody without being completely ostracized for it. I mean, you can't say a true thing, right? Trump is a criminal, or he's an accused criminal, or he's under indictment, without just getting a spew of crap back in your face. And it becomes not worth it. So I mean, for me, this idea of Marjorie Taylor Greene claiming there's some kind of uniparty just makes her look like the clown she is, and
Yeah,
she's a clown.
the clown, and she's a
And it's
child.
getting recognized. She started this year as one of Kevin's darlings.
Yeah,
She's a good fundraiser because the MAGA faithful love to see her causing trouble and
Yeah,
not accomplishing anything. And it's like her colleagues in the House, most of them are finally sick of it.
yeah,
yeah,
they're done.
And she's losing, and that is making her lose her power.
yeah,
And I say hooray.
yeah. I do too. Now, if we could just figure out a way to get Eileen Cannon to lose her power, that would
Oh,
be awesome. Because
man.
I don't know if you saw the post that we had on the site earlier, but her husband's mob connected, and the mob connections that
I
he
saw
has
that.
go back to Trump.
Of course it does.
So that's awesome. And so, to this week, she basically made it so that the documents trial isn't going to happen anytime soon. It's
Yeah,
indefinitely postponed.
Or
if at all,
ever if
ever if he's
if
elected.
Well,
Trump's
that's
elected.
just another reason I think why you have to get Biden reelected, because these
Yeah.
cases have to be resolved for the good of the country. They have to be tried in public and resolved. It can't
Yeah,
be
unless you want it to be okay that it, just like any old president can like bring the
right.
classified documents to
If
their bathroom at
if
home.
Trump is elected, he becomes a dictator,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's why
Oh,
we
right.
can
Sorry, there
have
won't be any more presidents.
There
Whoops.
won't
yeah,
be any more presidents.
Whoopsie.
It will be that we will be the Trump organization,
Yeah.
and you know, Trump will be followed by Don Jr.
Oh God.
yep. And Don Jr. by Eric, and Eric to Barron, and then it goes on and on. By then, Junior's boys will be enough. I mean, it'll be a monarchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not okay. And yeah, so That's frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me that Eileen Cannon is in the tank like that. But we knew that. We knew that she
Yeah.
was. So that part's not surprising. It's just
Yeah, I
frustrating.
didn't know about the mob connections though. That was
Yeah, the
before I
mob
read it
It's
online.
just
connections
another
are,
piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
yeah,
you
they're
know.
enlightening. They're definitely enlightening.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it makes sense. It's just like the brain worm. Oh, that makes sense. That explains a
exactly
lot.
same thing because we're sensible people.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, we have so much of a list here this week and we're running out of
Yeah.
time.
Well,
Yeah, we are
briefly,
running out of time.
we because we talked about Eileen Cannon, we talked about one of the Trump trials, one of the
Mhm.
ones on hold. You know,
Yeah.
we still have the immunity one, which we'll get some kind of answer on probably in July.
Right.
Um, and then we'll see what happens with that.
Mhm.
Georgia is on hold because the appellate court in Georgia has decided to hear that on the removal of Fani Willis.
I
So
was
that's
surprised by that.
being, yeah,
That doesn't seem like something that
that's
should an
BS.
appeal that should have been heard.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
BS.
Yeah.
that
But
is
then
BS.
so is the immunity hearing that the
Yeah.
Supreme Court had. That was
Yeah.
also BS.
That is BS,
So
but
so what's happening in New York is the only game in town,
Yep.
yeah.
and it's been interesting.
It has been interesting. Michael Cohen's coming up next week, it sounds like, right?
Yep.
Monday,
Yep.
Monday,
Monday.
Monday. They've
and
been
then
laying the foundation for him. I mean, they brought Stormy on
Mhm.
midweek and I mean, I haven't read the transcripts, but it sounds to me like she did a great job. They didn't
She
really
did a
put any
great job,
any
especially the
dents in
second
her.
day.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, under cross examination, it from what I've heard, and I've tried to listen to different, like, so that I'm not like in the
mhm,
bubble. I'm trying to listen to different things,
right.
but
Right.
there was there was visible exasperation with the cross examination and how like she spent so long on did they eat, did they not eat, was it dinner, was it snacks? I mean, people didn't. Who
Really,
cares?
who cares? Yeah.
I mean, all of that's a
It's
distraction.
yeah,
So,
I,
so
I do see that some critics are saying that if there is a reason to overturn a guilty verdict, they're going to look at Stormy's
Well,
testimony.
here's the problem with that though, and this is why and this is why it's not like the Harvey Weinstein verdict. The
Yeah.
problem with that is number one, that they had to put Stormy Daniels on the stand. They had no choice, and that's because the defense went out in their opening statement and said it never happened.
It never happened,
So they
Right.
right?
had to put her on the stand to prove that yes, it did happen, and the judge limited her testimony. And they failed to object to
That's
They
certain
did.
true.
things
They
that
did.
that they
And
could
the
have
judge even
objected to,
said,
and
I'm
he would have
surprised you
sustained.
didn't object.
Right. And so he's already said he's going to give the jury a limiting instruction, and
Yeah.
that he sustained several of their objections and said they can't consider that. So it's not the same as the Harvey Weinstein trial where they said basically that what was presented was so prejudicial that he couldn't get a fair trial,
Right.
and that the judge allowed too much in. In this case, the judge was careful not to allow a lot of things in
Right.
that he could have.
Yeah.
I mean, no description, for example, of genitalia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nobody wants it.
Exactly. And so I don't see it as being, I mean, yes, they can go on appeal, but I'm not a lawyer, but I think that in general, I thought the judge did a good job of reining that in and sustaining objections when they were made and everything. And
He
she,
made objections himself when they weren't made.
right.
Yeah, I think from every corner, um, Marshawn is being praised for the job he's doing.
Yeah. A very difficult job
A
indeed.
very difficult job.
Mhm.
And and in terms of his fairness and admonishing both sides equally when appropriate, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
just
I think he's
you
doing a
know,
good job.
yeah,
And it's a hard job too. Um, but it's been fun to watch Trump. Like how.
It's been fun to watch the drawings of Trump.
Oh, the drawings are great. Jake Tapper actually did some pretty good courtroom drawings yesterday.
Really? Is he an artist? I missed those.
Yeah,
I got to go look those up.
Cartoons all the time.
Yeah, he
Who
draws
did?
cartoons. Jake Tapper, he draws
I
cartoons.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did some good ones, but I mean, the sketch artists have been awesome. And
Yeah, they have been great. They have been great. And I heard that the photographers are barred now.
Well, yeah, because somebody just broke the rules.
Somebody decided to break the rules.
You know, it's like one of those classic, you know, one person wrecks it for everybody kind of thing. So yeah.
So now we're going to have to rely only on the drawings, but
well, that's all right. But, they're good.
Yeah.
So that trial has been very interesting. And then we have, I just have to pivot a little bit from the trial to the VP, the Republican VP stakes, Veep stakes, whatever you want to call it. Right. And I just want to say out loud that Tim Scott is the biggest asshole I've ever met. I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But to sit there on a Sunday show and not only say that he wouldn't support the outcome of the election, but that Donald Trump would be the only winner in 2024 was just evil. It was fucking evil is what it was. And
well, they're in a race to see who can be more evil, whether they're shooting puppies or denying elections or speaking what for Trump, since Trump is gagged, because you had Rick Scott yesterday accompanying him to the, you know, they're all
it was MAGA world yesterday. It was
and like Rick Scott is, you know, like whining about the fact that he got away with an 830 some odd million ripoff of Medicare.
Yeah.
You know, and boo-hoo.
Talk
the biggest Medicare scam in history, and he didn't go to prison for it because he managed to settle and make some restitution ahead of time. So, boo-hoo, Rick Scott. You know, that what he said sounded to me like, if Trump is elected, I get to commit all the crime I want, and it's okay. Yeah. And so will every other company. No corporation will be held
responsible. Yep.
Right. Well, except they'll have to give kickbacks to Trump.
Right. They're going to have to stay in Trump's good graces.
Yeah. It'll be run like Russia.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So anyway, and one more word on Kristi Noem. She completely flamed out this week. I mean, like she could not leave her alone. She had Newsmax anchors yelling at her.
I mean, she had what yelling at her?
Newsmax.
Yeah. I mean, she is
not just over the puppy, over Kim Jong-il too.
Yeah.
Kim
Jong-un. Yeah.
Kim Jong-un, right.
Yeah. And I know. And the thing was that she, in the face of all the facts being what they were, lied anyway, lied. And the only thing I can figure out is that she, taking cue from Trump, decided that she could lie with the same impunity that he does.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that she was going to try to get away with it, and that if she could, that was going to make her, stand out as a good choice for him.
Yeah.
But now they're considering her for the head of the NRA, so there's that.
She was going to lie the bestest. She was going to be the prettiest, bestest liar.
You guys, we are almost done with our hour. We have a minute left.
Oh, wow.
And we did not talk about Joe Biden's announcement yesterday on Gaza.
Yeah.
And, it's so damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That's another 20-minute conversation at least.
Another 20-minute conversation. I would just like to point out that he is still giving the Israelis defensive weapons. And the announcement only has to do with offensive weapons to use in Rafah. So.
And I agree with that choice that you made.
I
agree with that.
I think it was the right choice to make. And, obviously Bibi's having a cow over it, but he's swearing, if we have to go in there with our fingernails, we will. And
All right. Well,
whatever.
okay, BB.
Yeah.
You're half the reason it happened anyway.
Yep,
Exactly.
that's the truth.
And I just have one challenge for anybody who says they support Palestinians. One challenge: to post on social media once, without any equivocation, that you think the hostages should be released. With no equivocation, no nothing. Just post. If you are arguing that you are pro-Palestinian and that you hate is whatever you're saying, globalize the intifada and all that stuff, whatever you think, one post that says the hostages deserve to be freed, and see what happens.
Agreed.
Yeah. See what happens to everybody who thinks you're doing the right thing. That's my challenge to you.
I think it's a good one.
Then you'll see what kind of circle you're in.
Yep. I agree. I think that's a great
I
challenge.
agree too.
It's a good way to end.
It's a good way to end, and I guarantee we'll have more time for this subject next week, because there will be
maybe let's start with it next week.
Talk about.
Yeah.
So
happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And that is our show for the week. Join us next week on YouTube, momocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza, saying bye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats Mama Chat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.